Hello children, how are you? I'm sure you're having a good time with your families and also paying attention to your studies. Well, I'm Satinder Kaur and today I'll be touching upon a subject which is quite new for you. Yes, I'm talking about economics, which is part of your social science in class 9. Now, what is economics? What do we study in economics? Economics is a branch of social science which is concerned with production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. In this, we study various aspects related to the process of production, distribution and consumption. Today, I'll be taking up lesson 1 for class 9, that is the story of village Palampur. I'm sure most of you belong to villages or have seen some or the other village. But those who have not need not worry because today I'm going to transport you to a hypothetical village called Palampur and give you a glimpse of the kind of activities that are carried out in a village. So let's start the story of village Palampur. Palampur is well connected with neighbouring villages and towns. Raiganj, a big village, is 3 kilometers from Palampur. An all-weather road connects the village to Raiganj and further to the nearest small town of Shahpur. Many kinds of transport like motorcycles, jeeps, tractors and trucks can be seen on this road. This village has about 450 families belonging to several different castes. The 80 upper caste families own the majority of land in the village. Their houses are large and are made of bricks with cement plastering. The SCs or the Dalits comprise 1/3 of the population and live in one corner of the village in small houses, some of which are made of mud and straw. Most of the houses have electric connections. All the tube wells in the fields run on electricity. Palampur has 2 primary schools and 1 high school. There is a primary health center run by the government and 1 private dispensary where the sick are treated. Now we will talk about the main production activity of Palampur. Farming is the main activity in Palampur, whereas several other activities such as small-scale manufacturing, dairy, transport, etc. are carried out on a limited scale. These production activities need various types of resources like natural resources, man-made items, human effort, money, etc. And various resources are combined to produce the desired goods and services in the village. Now we will talk about the main production activity of Palampur in detail. But before we do that, it's important to understand a few general things about production. How is production organized? What are the basic requirements for it? So children, the aim of production is to produce the goods and services that we want. There are 4 requirements for production of goods and services. The first requirement is land and other natural resources such as water, forests and minerals. The second requirement is labor, that is people who will do the work. Some production activities require highly educated workers to perform the necessary tasks. Other activities require workers who can do manual work. Each worker is providing the labor necessary for production. The third requirement is physical capital, that is the variety of inputs required at every stage during production. The items that come under physical capital are tools, machines, and buildings. Tools and machines range from very simple tools such as a farmer's plow to sophisticated machines such as generators, turbines, computers, etc. Tools, machines, buildings can be used in production over many years and therefore they are called fixed capital. Production also requires a variety of raw materials such as the yarn used by the weaver and the clay used by the potter. Also, some money is always required during production to make payments and buy other necessary items. Raw materials and money in hand are called working capital. Unlike tools, machines and buildings, these are used up in production. There is a fourth requirement too. You will need knowledge and enterprise to be able to put together land, labor and physical capital and produce an output either to use yourself or to sell in the market. This these days is called human capital. Now coming back to the story, let's talk about the first three factors of production in context of Palampur. As farming is the main activity in Palampur, land is the first and foremost factor of production there. So let's first understand how land is used in Palampur and look at the various constraints with regard to land. 75% of the people there are dependent on farming for their livelihood. They are either farmers or farm laborers. The well-being of these people is closely related to production on the farms. But children, remember that there is a basic constraint in raising farm production. Land area under cultivation means the land on which farming is done is practically fixed. Since 1960 in Palampur, there has been no expansion in land area under cultivation. Some of the wastelands in the village had been converted to cultivable land, means people have started farming on land which was lying waste earlier, but there is no further scope to increase the land under cultivation. All land is cultivated, no land is left idle there. During the rainy season, farmers grow jowar and bajra. These plants are used as cattle feed. It is followed by cultivation of potato between October and December. In the winter season, fields are sown with wheat. From the wheat produced, farmers keep enough wheat for the family's consumption and sell the surplus wheat at the market at Raiganj. A part of the land area is also devoted to sugarcane, which is harvested once every year. Sugarcane in its raw form or as jaggery is sold to traders in Shahpur. The main reason why farmers are able to grow 3 different crops in a year in Palampur is due to the well-developed system of irrigation. Electricity came early to Palampur and it transformed the system of irrigation. Earlier, Persian wheels were used by farmers to draw water from the wells and irrigate small fields. People saw that the electric run tube wells could irrigate much larger areas of land more effectively. The first few tube wells were installed by the government. Soon, farmers started setting up private tube wells. As a result, by mid-70s, the entire cultivated area of 200 hectares was irrigated. Children, hectare is the standard unit of measuring land. Do you know, children, not all villages in India have such high levels of irrigation. Apart from the riverine plains, coastal regions in our country are well irrigated. In contrast, plateau regions such as the Deccan Plateau have low levels of irrigation. Of the total cultivated area in the country, a little less than 40% is irrigated even today. In the remaining areas, farming is largely dependent on rainfall. Apart from having good irrigation facilities, people in Palampur practice multiple cropping to increase production. Now, what is multiple cropping? So, children, to grow more than one crop on a piece of land during the year is known as multiple cropping. It is the most common way of increasing production on a given piece of land. All farmers in Palampur grow at least two main crops. Many are growing potato as the third crop in the past 15 to 20 years. Children, do you know that apart from multiple cropping, there is another way by which production from the same land can be increased? And that is by adopting modern farming methods. Till the mid-1960s, the seeds used in cultivation were traditional ones and had relatively low yields. Traditional seeds needed less irrigation. Farmers used cow dung and other natural manure as fertilizers. All these were readily available with the farmers who did not have to buy them. The Green Revolution in the late 1960s introduced the Indian farmer to cultivation of wheat and rice using high-yielding varieties of seeds, which are known as HYV seeds. Compared to the traditional seeds, the HYV seeds produce much greater amounts of grain on a single plant. As a result, the same piece of land can now produce far larger quantities of food grains than was possible earlier. HYV seeds, however, needed plenty of water and also chemical fertilizers and pesticides to produce good results. Higher yields were possible only from a combination of HYV seeds, irrigation, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, etc. Farmers of Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh were the first to try out the modern farming method in India. The farmers in these regions set up tube wells for irrigation and made use of HYV seeds, chemical fertilizers and pesticides in farming. Some of them bought farm machinery like tractors and threshers, which made plowing and harvesting faster. They were rewarded with high yields of wheat. In Palampur, the yield of wheat grown from the traditional varieties was 1300 kg per hectare. With the HYV seeds, the yield went up to 3200 kg per hectare. There was a large increase in the production of wheat. Farmers now had large amount of surplus wheat to sell in the markets. But children, did you notice that although modern farming methods increase the yield, but at the same time they are expensive and require a lot of cash to buy seeds, fertilizers, pesticides and other machines? There is another problem with modern farming methods. Do you want to know what it is? So children, scientific reports indicate that the modern farming methods have overused the natural resource base. In many areas, Green Revolution has led to the loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizers. Also, Continuous use of groundwater for tube well irrigation has reduced the water table below the ground. Environmental resources like soil fertility and groundwater are built up over many years. Once destroyed, it is very difficult to restore them. According to a report, chemical fertilizers provide minerals which dissolve in water and are immediately available to plants. But these may not be retained in soil for long. They may escape from the soil and pollute groundwater, rivers and lakes. Chemical fertilizers can also kill bacteria and other microorganisms in the soil. This means sometime after their use, the soil will be less fertile than ever before. Another report says that the continuous use of chemical fertilizers has led to degradation of soil health. Punjab farmers are now forced to use more and more chemical fertilizers and other inputs to achieve the same production level. This means cost of cultivation is rising very fast. Now, I want you children to find out what kind of farming methods do the farmers use in your village? What kind of irrigation facilities do they have? I hope you will be able to do that. Yes, you can seek help from your elders. Now, we will talk about distribution of land between farmers of Palampur. Unfortunately, not all the people engaged in agriculture have sufficient land for cultivation. In Palampur, about 1/3 of the 450 families are landless. That is, 150 families, most of them Dalits, have no land for cultivation. Of the remaining families who own land, 240 families cultivate small plots of land less than 2 hectares in size. Cultivation of such plots doesn't bring enough income to the farmer family. In 1960, Gobind was a farmer with 2.25 hectares of largely unirrigated land. With the help of his 3 sons, Gobind cultivated the land. Though they didn't live very comfortably, the family managed to feed itself with a little bit of extra income from one buffalo that the family possessed. Some years after Gobind's death, this land was divided among his 3 sons. Each one now has a plot of land that is only 0.75 hectare in size. Even with improved irrigation and modern farming method, Gobind's sons are not able to make a living from their land and they have to look for additional work for some part of the year. Children, you can see the large number of small plots scattered around the village in the picture. These are cultivated by the small farmers. On the other hand, more than half the area of the village is covered by plots that are quite large in size. In Palampur, there are 60 families of medium and large farmers who cultivate more than 2 hectares of land. A few of the large farmers have land over 10 hectares. Thus, the distribution of cultivated land is unequal in Palampur and the situation is similar in most villages in India. Now, before we move further, let's look at some questions and try to answer them. The first question is, how far is Palampur from Raiganj? And the options are 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers. And the answer is 3 kilometers. The next question is, which is the small town near Raiganj? And the options are Shahpur, Hoshiarpur, Hamirpur or none of the above. And the answer is right, Shahpur. Now the next question. How many families reside in Palampur? And the options are 80, 450, 250 or 400. And the correct option is 450. Now the next question. Which of the statements is correct with regard to Palampur? Options are: it has well-developed system of roads and transport. It has well-developed irrigation system. It has facilities for education, or all of the above. I'm sure children you can answer these questions very easily. Children, after land, labor is the next necessary factor for production. Farming requires a great deal of hard work. Small farmers, along with their families, cultivate their own fields. Thus, they provide the labor required for farming themselves. Medium and large farmers hire farm laborers to work on their fields. Farm laborers come either from the landless families or families cultivating small plots of land. Unlike farmers, farm laborers do not have a right over the crops grown on the land. Instead, they are paid wages by the farmer for whom they work. Wages can be in cash or in kind, for example, crop. Sometimes laborers get meals also. Wages differ widely from region to region, from crop to crop, from one farm activity to another, like sowing and harvesting. There is also a wide variation in the duration of employment. A farm laborer might be employed on a daily basis or for one particular farm activity like harvesting or for the whole year. Dala is a landless farm laborer who works on daily wages in Palampur. This means he must regularly look for work. The minimum wages for a farm laborer set by the government is rupees 60 per day, but Dala gets only rupees 35 to 40. There is heavy competition for work among the farm laborers in Palampur, so people agree to work for lower wages. Dala complains about his situation to Ramkali, who is another farm laborer. Let's hear their conversation and try to understand their situation. It is difficult to find work these days. Only the large farmers hire us, and that too for very limited number of days. Ghanshyam, the large farmer, has just bought a harvester, so we are going to get even less work during the harvest season this year. Last year, I worked for less than 5 months in the whole year. We have tractors for plowing, harvesters for harvesting, threshers for threshing, even for removing seeds. Some farmers spray weedicide. This year, I will have to look for work in the brick making unit in Raiganj. I owe the local money lender rupees 2000. I had taken rupees 1000 last summer when no work was available in the fields. How will I ever repay? I hardly earn enough for 2 square meals. My situation is not much better. Due to past debt, the moneylenders refuse to give me any loan. Both Dala and Ramkali are among the poorest people in the village. Children, can you think of the reason why farm laborers like Dala and Ramkali are poor? Now let's move further and talk about the third factor of production, that is capital. Now you've already seen that the modern farming methods require a great deal of capital, so the farmers now need more money than before. Most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for the capital. They borrow from large farmers or the village moneylenders or the traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. The rate of interest on such loans is very high. They are put to great distress to repay the loan. Let's look at Savita's case. She is a small farmer. She plans to cultivate wheat on her 1 hectare of land. Besides seeds, fertilizers and pesticides, she needs cash to buy water and repair her farm instruments. She estimates that the working capital itself would cost a minimum of Rs 3,000. She doesn't have the money, so she decides to borrow from Tejpal Singh, a large farmer. Tejpal Singh agrees to give Savita the loan at an interest rate of 24% for 4 months, which is a very high interest rate. Savita also has to promise to work on his field as a farm labourer during the harvest season at Rs 100 per day. As you can tell, this wage is quite low. Savita knows that she will have to work very hard to complete harvesting on her own field and then work as a farm labourer for Tejpal Singh. The harvest time is a very busy time. As a mother of 3 children, she has a lot of household responsibilities. Savita agrees to these tough conditions as she knows getting a loan is difficult for a small farmer. In contrast to the small farmers, the medium and large farmers have their own savings from farming. They are thus able to arrange for the capital needed. How do these farmers have their own savings? Let's find out. We have seen that the farmers produce wheat on their lands using the 3 factors of production, that is, land, labor and capital. The wheat is harvested and production is complete. What do the farmers do with the wheat? They retain a part of the wheat for the family's consumption and sell the surplus wheat. Small farmers like Savita and Gobind's sons have little surplus wheat because their total production is small, and from this a substantial share is kept for their own family needs. So, it is the medium and large farmers who supply wheat to the market. The traders at the market buy the wheat and sell it further to shopkeepers in the towns and cities. Tejpal Singh, the large farmer, has a surplus of 350 quintals of wheat from all his lands. He sells the surplus wheat at the Raiganj market and has good earnings. What does Tejpal Singh do with his earnings? Last year, Tejpal Singh had put most of the money in his bank account. Later, he used the savings for lending to farmers like Savita who were in need of a loan. He also used the savings to arrange for the working capital for farming in the next season. This year, Tejpal Singh plans to use his earnings to buy another tractor. Another tractor would increase his fixed capital. Like Tejpal Singh, other large and medium farmers sell the surplus farm products. A part of the earnings is saved and kept for buying capital for the next season. Thus, they are able to arrange for the capital for farming from their own savings. Some farmers might also use the savings to buy cattle, trucks, or to set up shops. As we shall see, these constitute the capital for non-farm activities. Now children, we will talk about some non-farm activities in Palampur, but before we do that, let's answer a few questions. Here we have some sentences and you have to state whether these sentences are true or false. And the first sentence is, a lot of capital is required for adopting modern methods of farming. Children, is it true or false? Yes, this sentence is true. Now let's look at the next sentence. Savita is a farm laborer. This sentence is false because she is a small farmer, not a farm laborer. The next sentence is, to grow more than one crop in a year on the same piece of land is called multiple cropping. This sentence is true. Now the next one. Big farmer Tejpal Singh gets lot of surplus wheat from his lands. This again is true. And the last sentence is, the land is equally distributed among the people in the village Palampur. So children, this sentence is false, as we saw that about 1/3 families in the village do not have land. So, talking about the non-farm production activities, only 25% of the people working in Palampur are engaged in activities other than agriculture. First, we will talk about dairy, which is a common activity in many families of Palampur. People feed their buffaloes on various kinds of grass and the jawar and bajra that grows during the rainy season. The milk is sold in Raiganj, the nearby large village. Two traders from Shahpur town have set up collection cum chilling centers at Raiganj, from where the milk is transported to faraway towns and cities. Now let's talk about manufacturing as an activity in Palampur. At present, less than 50 people are engaged in manufacturing in Palampur. Unlike the manufacturing that takes place in the big factories in the towns and cities, manufacturing in Palampur involves very simple production methods and are done on a small scale. They are carried out mostly at home or in the fields with the help of family labor. Rarely are laborers hired. For instance, Mishri Lal has purchased a mechanical sugarcane crushing machine run on electricity and has set it up on his field. Sugarcane crushing was earlier done with the help of bullocks, but people prefer to do it by machines these days. Mishri Lal also buys sugarcane from other farmers and processes it into jaggery. The jaggery is then sold to traders at Shahpur. In the process, Mishri Lal makes a small profit. In another instance, Kareem has opened a computer class center in the village. In recent years, a large number of students have been attending college in Shahpur town. Kareem found that a number of students from the village are also attending computer classes in the town. There were 2 women in the village who had a degree in computer applications. He decided to employ them. He bought computers and set up the classes in the front room of their house overlooking the market. High school students have started attending them in good numbers. Children, can you tell what capital did Mishri Lal need to set up his jaggery manufacturing unit? Yes, he needed a sugarcane crushing machine. Did you notice that while Mishri Lal needed only physical capital, Kareem needed both physical and human capital to set up his business? Now let's talk about another activity being carried out in Palampur, that is shopkeeping. People involved in trade are not many in Palampur. The traders of Palampur are shopkeepers who buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities and sell them in the village. You will see small general stores in the village selling a wide range of items like rice, wheat, sugar, tea, oil, biscuits, soap, toothpaste, batteries, candles, notebooks, pen, pencil, even some cloth. A few of the families whose houses are close to the bus stand have used a part of the space to open small shops. They sell eatables. Apart from people selling goods, there are people engaged in transport sector. There are variety of vehicles on the road connecting Palampur to Raiganj. Rickshawalas, tongawalas, jeep, tractor, truck drivers and people driving the traditional bullock cart and bogie are people in the transport services. They ferry people and goods from one place to another and in return get paid for it. The number of people involved in transport has grown over the last several years. Now let me tell you about Kishora, who is a farm labourer. Like other such labourers, Kishora found it difficult to meet his family's needs from the wages that he received. A few years back, Kishora took a loan from the bank. This was under a government program which was giving cheap loans to poor landless households. Kishora bought a buffalo with this money. He now sells the buffalo's milk. Further, he has attached a wooden cart to his buffalo and uses it to transport various items. Now let's try to answer a few more questions related to the chapter. Here we have some questions and you have to supply the answers in 1 or 2 words. The first question is, what percent of people working in Palampur are engaged in activities other than farming? And the answer is 25%. The second question is, which is a common non-farming activity in Palampur? And the answer is dairy. The third question is, Mishri Lal's Jaggery unit is an example of which non-farming activity? And the answer is manufacturing. Now the next question, what did Kishora buy to supplement his income? And the answer is, he bought a buffalo and started selling its milk. Now the last question, the number of people engaged in which sector is growing over the years? And the answer is transport sector. With this, we come to the end of today's video. I'm sure you liked it and got to know a great deal about the life of people in villages and the kind of activities they are engaged in. Also, you must have gained a good understanding about the process of production, how it is organized and what are the various factors required for it. That's all for now, children. I'll be back soon with some more interesting videos. Till then, keep learning, keep smiling.